For me, life is like a game of cards. The hand you are dealt is determinism. The way you play it, however, is free will. Hi, my name is Kathalijn Kalawati Vergeer. I'm 30 years old, and I made out of playing my profession. I use playful interventions to inspire, connect, and activate people to become, for example, more aware of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm doing what I love, fits my personality, and brings value to the world. And so far, life has dealt me some cards that were a game changer, but they brought me where I am now, on stage. And in this personal story, I will tell you what made me keep on playing and might inspire you to play your own game. 3rd of December, 1990, Schiphol Airport. We've just arrived. I'm 2 years old and I'm hiding behind my father's legs, looking around, a bit afraid and confused because of all those people staring at me. Although I was born 2 years previously, in 1988, I consider this as my true birth. I'm adopted, and I've always regarded my adoption as a wonderful thing. I've also always struggled with understanding why I was the way I was. As an adopted child, it's even more difficult to find the answer to the universal question, who am I? My life could have been very differently. I was only 6 weeks old when my mom gave me up for adoption. She was nearly 20, unmarried, and such a combination does not promise very good prospects for a baby girl in India. The first memory I have of becoming aware that I was adopted was when I was 4 years old. I was playing outside, and a girl in the street told me that I was from a different country, and that was why my skin color was different. I told her she was wrong. I was born in the chocolate, and my brother's in the vanilla. The first 2 years of my life, I spent in a Holy Cross home for babies, where sisters raised me as their own daughter. After this, I spent a short period of time in Mumbai, in another home, for I was headed towards the Netherlands, with people who I would come to treat as my parents. You see, I have biological parents that are not my parents, and I have non-biological parents that are my parents. While growing up, I became aware of the whole nature-nurture debate, and it's fascinated me ever since. And when people ask me if I knew my biological mother, I always told them that she was a very poor but beautiful woman. She fell in love with an Indian Maharaja with a white elephant. It was a forbidden love, and she had to escape to keep me safe. Being adopted made me very adaptive. As Charles Darwin stated, it's not the strongest of the species that survives. No, it's also not the most intelligent one that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. Adaptation kept me in the game and turned that little girl that looked confused and afraid into a happy and light-hearted one. Because I do consider myself as a lucky girl. I have a life I would never have had my mom not give me up for adoption. But because I was so lucky to live here, I thought I had to ignore everything that had to do with India or my biological parents. And the other thing that made me feel guilty was this idea of being a lucky one. Why me, I wondered. And as if I had to prove to be worth adopting, I developed a great ambition. Every project had to be followed by an even more demanding one. I can tell you one thing, it was pretty exhausting fooling myself like this. So not only was I losing my wallet or my keys several times a week, and I still do, but at some point of time, I was also losing my common sense. I remember sitting at the GP's office because I had a high fever and had not slept for a month. And I was shouting at her because he didn't want to give me any sleep medication, but said I had to take some rest. Well, this was obvious even to me, but like her, I could not see what the root cause was. And then came January, which started with a burnout and ended with a good friend who committed suicide. I felt lost and didn't knew that finding myself would be just one mouse click away. So one day, I was surfing at the internet, and some news ad was flashing at me. €209 for a flight ticket to Mumbai. When life gives you a card like that, you have to play it, right? It felt so good to eat pani puri again, to feel the Indian heat on my skin, and to help the sisters like they helped me 29 years ago. India wasn't my home, but I did felt home. First night, I had a heart-to-heart conversation with two sisters, and I told them that for the first time in my life, I had a desire to meet my biological mother. I knew it would be dangerous for her. I knew it would be difficult to find her in a country of 1.2 billion people, but I had to try, right? Apparently, they were touched by my story, because the next day, they told me they looked up the documents. They had the name of my mother, my grandfather, and the village, if I wanted to go. I nodded. I said, yes, please. Well, inside me, someone was screaming, no, I don't want to go. She gave me away once. Why would she want to see me now? But a saying of a sister helped me through. I was asking her questions about my mother country, and she answered me. Feel your way through India, and then find it. This card was another game changer, but intuition helped me in the game and brought me back to my roots. 27th of April. I woke up by a voice, Kalawati, Kalawati. Slowly I realized that this is the big day, and I washed myself with a bucket of cold water. The sisters wished me good luck, followed by a please be prepared for disappointments. She's probably married by now and lives in another village. I'm sitting next to the driver and remind myself that I made up the most beautiful stories about where I had come from. But what if my mom was a prostitute? What if she had been raped? What if the Maharaja with his white elephant was not there? And what if he was not that beautiful and strong as I hoped he would be? And what if she would reject me again? The driver stopped and asked a random guy if he knew where the head of the village is. Oh, he's my friend, come with me. We parked, climbed the hill that was littered with plastic. Before I knew, I was drinking chai with a curious Indian-looking man, gray hair and beautiful green eyes. After the small talk, Sister Teresa mentioned the name Kamal and Bavagin. And he says, 30 years ago, Kamal brought a small baby here. Is that her? Sister Teresa smiles and nods. He knows. An even bigger smile appears on his face. In a split second, he sends his friend outside, and he looks at me again. Your mother is a very brave and courageous woman, very open-minded. And suddenly, I see someone bending in the doorway, taking off her shoes. It's my mother. What would you do if you were about to meet your biological mother after 29 years? What would you feel? Think. Of course, I thought about this moment. There were no tears. I did feel an urge to get up and hug her. She looked a bit uncomfortable, but also curious. And she had the same energy and attitude I recognized in myself. I was enchanted. I could only look at her and touch her. And suddenly she said, "Do you want to see my house?" It was wonderful to walk behind her, see her silhouette, steady, but also dancing. More and more people followed us. I was sitting on a bed in the house, and it was too surrealistic to realize that this place without water and a floor could very well have been my home. Back in Amravati, the Holy Cross Home for babies, I texted my parents. They were stunned, but incredibly happy for me. Big kiss for the lucky girl that now has two mothers. I read the text of my mother and cried again. Everything I was afraid of turned out to be the opposite. So back in the Netherlands, I got a permanent job offer. Though I had always dreamt for working for myself. Of course, I was also afraid. Would I manage to make my own living? And why would the world want to hear about my ideas? But it was time to walk the path of my own dreams. So when I looked at how to combine my talent and personality, the word playing kept popping up. And before I knew, serious gaming became my core business. A game with primarily another goal. And on top of that, I met the love of my life. Life couldn't be more perfect. But as we all know, life happens when you're busy making other plans. 4th of September, I woke up by a text of my mother. There's something with Dad. I call her immediately. They did CPR for 45 minutes. Dad just died. I was paralyzed, and I still am. I'm lying in bed next to his dead body, full of tears. Why, Dad? Why now already? A pulmonary embolism, bad luck, and at the same time, it could have been prevented. He could still have been alive. In 1 year, I found a parent and I lost a parent. The most important man in my life disappears, and a new one enters. This card activated an unknown power in me. I became extremely aware. It was as if the essence of life was packed in 1 year full of life-changing moments. I found out that nature will have its way, irrespective of your nurture. But you do have to use consciously both nature and nurture to fulfill your destiny. And what helps me in this is to recognize the chances life offers and take them too, of course. And the more a chance scares you, the more it will enrich your life. And it will not only make your world bigger, but also of other people. Life is like a game of cards, but the free will, how to play them, is not as free as I thought. As I want to hold on to what is most important to me. So that's why I tell my better half every day that I love him and how much I appreciate him, and he never gets bored by it. So maybe I should tell to more people that are important to me. My parents and me had planned to visit India this year. For me, the different lives of my two mothers were shaped to make mine as it is. The first gave me life, and the second taught me to live it. The first gave me a need for love, and the second was there to give it. I'm still going to India this year with my mother. This summer, I developed a game to make people more aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, Destination Unknown. In this game, they go on a journey to connect again to what is most important to them. They have 30 minutes before boarding time, and by completing the puzzles, they will find out what their destination will be and what the real price of their ticket is. People ask me now to develop more of this kind of games or turn their workspace into a playground. How cool is my job? Nature will play its own game. It's a given. So I better appreciate what I have and use it to enrich my life and of others. Because I only have one set of cards. We only got one life and one planet. And although I can't hide behind my father's legs anymore, I know that whatever cards life still has in store for me, I will feel my way to play them. Thank you.